this. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Trust Your Glitter. This is Christy Belich, and this is the podcast. Now, normally I do Sunday to Sunday, but I'm going to get into why I decided to do Monday today. And I do want to acknowledge the astrology is technically for today, the 26th through July 1st. I can't believe, or July 2nd. I can't believe that it is July. It's going to be July. That's wild to me. We are halfway through this in the year of 2023. It feels like we just started. It feels like we just went through the beginning of 2023. I have tarot cards out. I want to say hi to those joining on the live. Hello, Kern. Hello, Nick. How are y'all doing today? Hey, what's up? I will be doing tarot cards. I'm going to be talking about the astrology of the week ahead. I'm on 2 cameras today, so I'm on Zoom and I'm on Facebook Live. And so I'm just kind of recording everything. If anybody has any questions, please, you are absolutely welcome to ask me in the comments. And I'm just going to talk about our week ahead. I have a lot of notes for astrology, but have tarot cards out. And I even brought out some handy dandy playing cards, which I got these when I was on the road. And I was like, did I get these in Austin, Texas, or did I get these in Illinois? And I realized I actually did get these in River Grove, Illinois at their Goodwill. And I got them with the idea that while I was on the road, I would teach people how to use playing cards to read tarot cards. So I'm going to do a little bit of unboxing. These are not blessed playing cards right now, so it's not going to really be for readings. It's just going to be to teach people that you too can go to the grocery store or to Goodwill and pick up, or even the dollar store, and pick up some playing cards, and you can use playing cards as a tarot set if you so wish to do so. And I do this because anytime I have questions, especially when I've lived in cities, I've found playing cards around, and I was reviewing pictures from the past, and I realized before I left LA to move to Austin, Texas, that there was a full reading that I took a picture of. And as I walked down Hollywood Boulevard to go to an open mic, there were, I think, 4 or 5 playing cards, all weirdly spaced, and I still have the picture of them. In realizing that the tarot cards from beyond were telling me to leave. And for those who want to know, generally, if you're thinking about moving and you see the 6 of Swords or the 8 of Cups, it's a pretty good indication to leave. And I think I had the 8 of Hearts, which is the 8 of Cups, and the 6 of, I think it's Spades, 6 of Spades, which is the 6 of Swords. So the universe does conspire to help us. It's really just about us being like, oh yeah, I'm going to listen to that sign. And then, like, because I'm a human and I know we're all humans, a lot of times it's like we get those signs a bajillion times. And sometimes it's like we have to just like get smacked in the face or something like that until we get the sign. Anyway, I digress. Let's talk about the transits ahead. So today, the 26th, is actually our first quarter moon. And the first quarter moon today is in the sign of Libra. Now, it's really important because in the next 20 minutes, we actually have Mercury, who's been in the sign of Gemini, entering the sign of Cancer. So at 8:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the planet of our mind and our communication is entering this very watery, steamy sign of the crab. And I think it's important to note this because we are in Cancer season, and this is going to make a very big impact for us at the end of the week. Yesterday's energy was so frenetic that I wanted to be very grounded going into this reading today, because our energy throughout the week, this is a very important week to embrace the fact that we cannot control anything. It's really the serenity like prayer, where it's just like accept what we cannot control, but also appreciate what we've learned from the situation. So because we're literally just moments in the last degree with Mercury and Gemini. We are at a very potent degree for Mercury to be in Mercury's home sign of Gemini. So we're really just in this beautiful energy called the energetic degree. 29 degrees we're here with Mercury, waiting for Mercury to enter this watery sign. So we're going from air to water. We're going from cognitive downloads to emotional release. And that's important because this whole week has the shift between logic and reason, and just, you can't explain it, but you just know it. So there's this sort of, not really topsy-turvy, but if you can think of, there's this, you sort of have the subconscious idea, but then at the same time, does it logically make sense? So it's also important to note a couple of things. Saturn is retrograde in the sign of Pisces, and Saturn is talking to us about our dreams and our life purpose. The other thing that's really important to note is there's going to be yesterday we had a square with Mercury to Neptune. Neptune is stationing to go retrograde. So we have first quarter moon, which on the 18th of June, we had a new moon in the sign of Gemini, and it was about setting these intentions, speaking out loud what we want. And this first quarter moon is saying, hey, just to let you know, you spoke these intentions out loud. What were these intentions that you want to bring into fruition? Because it's also important to note that throughout the week, the moon is our guide. The lunar body is our guide. And as we start the week off with Libra, the balance scales, moon saying, hey, what intentions did you set? How do we balance this out? How do we look at this logically? How do we look at this from both sides and both angles? Because we're going from a Gemini new moon to a first quarter moon in Libra, which is also an air sign, that's kind of giving a check and balance to Gemini's energy. Then throughout the week, the moon is going to be in a waxing phase. So she's going to be basically ushering us towards illumination. Now, we're not going to have a full moon until the top of next week. So that's why it's really important to note where Saturn is this week, because Saturn's moon, full moon, is next week in the sign of Capricorn. So my intentions for doing Trust Your Glitter is to show the flow of the lunar cycles and how the universe is really, really, really trying to conspire towards our greater creation, our greater goals. But at the same time, we're kind of also having to go into some psychological wounding. And I want to also talk about that too, because on the 30th, Neptune goes retrograde. Now, Neptune entered his shadow on March 9th. So basically 24 degrees of Pisces, where Neptune was already seen on March 9th. And Neptune will be retrograde June 30th through December 6th, where Neptune's going from 27 degrees of Pisces all the way back again to 24 degrees of Pisces. Then once Neptune goes direct, we'll finally clear that shadow zone at 27 degrees Pisces on March 25th, 2024. And what's important to note about Neptune's retrograde, we already have a bunch of outer planets in retrograde. We've got Pluto retrograde now in the sign of Capricorn. We've got Saturn retrograde in the sign of Pisces, and now Neptune is retrograde in the sign of Pisces. This is super important. There's a lot of mixed signals right now in the sky. And the mixed signals, again, are between, if we think about this, between the sacred feminine and sacred masculine. I'm looking at this from an outer body. Say we're a third party to the masculine and feminine energies in our life. This is aside from our romantic partners, this is gender neutral. If we look at this as a neutral body, viewing ourselves as this higher being looking towards ourselves, and the balance of logic, reason, and creativity, and more of that intuitive flow. just within our own body. Where we actually find that balance right now, and it might sound counterintuitive based on how Leo is described, but because we're also in a shadow zone, meaning that where a retrograde is going back to has already been seen as of last week by the planet Venus, who's in the sign of Leo, and she will retrograde back to 12 degrees of Leo. Now, she is going retrograde fully on the 22nd of July. This is important. We've already seen Mars retrograde this year, but Venus and Mars are extremely close to one another. They're not being considered a direct conjunction, meaning they're fully aligned, but do not get it twisted. Venus and Mars and Leo right now are neck and neck with each other, and they are definitely trying to figure each other out. So the divine feminine, divine masculine aspects are actually trying to show you, how do you express yourself? And Lilith, the asteroid of the sacred, raw, feminine energy, is also extremely close to Venus and Mars right now. So we have this love story going on in the sign of Leo. And we open up this week where Mars at 21 degrees Leo is square to Uranus at 21 degrees of Taurus. Why this is also important is because it's like, okay, let's throw everything into the pot during Cancer season. It's like if you've ever been to like a seafood boil and it's that time of year, and I just want to say I am in humidity right now. I got a fan on me, so if the sound in the fan is bothering the live stream, just let me know. But it's like, it's the only thing right now. I am like, but basically, if you think about it, when you have like a seafood boil, you're throwing everything into the pot. You're just like, let's put all of the spices together. Like, I don't know if anybody is on TikTok, but it's like, that's platinum. There's this guy, I don't remember his name, but he makes like seafood boils, and he basically is like, look at my seafood boils. He puts like orange juice in, he puts like corn on the cob in, and it looks delicious. But basically, that's the idea right now. It's a cauldron per se, but it's during Cancer season. So it's the only metaphor or simile or whatever, it's my poetry for Cancer season. Okay. So that is what adds the spice, is Leo. What adds the friction is Uranus. Uranus, properly named pain in the ass planet, because Uranus, there's chaos to be expected, And I was thinking this week, I'm so interested. I want to say a prediction, and I know that's very much against the law of attraction, but watching these transits this week, I just want to put a note, and please, let me know if you live in the Midwest. But I have been watching these tornado watches for the last week just to kind of see how they coincide with the Uranian squares. And I want to put out a prediction here. Okay, you heard it here on Trust Your Glitter podcast. Based on the squares to Uranus, we're topping our week off with a Mars square Uranus, and we're ending our week with a Venus square Uranus while Lilith is involved, which to me is kind of a love triangle. But I think Lilith and Venus are actually like, we see the ego, we see the bullshit. So if there's anybody in a love story right now, just know that the divine feminine is like really actually pretty like aligned. But if there's like a divine sort of ego involved in anything, like where it's like you can see somebody is just they're a little bit too like emperor has no clothes, because this is in Leo and this is, ego stuff. So I like that Venus is going retrograde, because she's going to say, well, this lesson still needs to be gotten. Mars eventually will be entering the sign of Virgo and getting a lesson of more a routine aspect. Venus is still going to be getting this long lesson of choosing her self-expression, and it's going to be like continually. She's going to have to continue to choose herself. That is the lesson. And I know it's this is all of it's a homework assignment for the summer. I mean, we're going to be having this transit until September, and then we're going to technically be afterwards entering again, yet another eclipse season. And then with Neptune going retrograde, there's a lot of confusion still. And then Neptune is not fully out of that shadow aspect until next March, when we enter the next eclipse season. And the thing is, I know that self-work never ends. Like, I know that's part of the assignment of entering the school of planet Earth, but it's always like, so we have to get this lesson like how many times? Like 1,000 billion times? Okay, all right. Can somebody bring my superhero cape here? Because I feel like at this point, that's what this Leo energy is. It's like, all right, we went through a pandemic, we went through this mass thing, this whole thing, this la la la. Oh, and now we have more retrogrades on the way? Okay, all right, all right. But thank God, here's the thing. The good thing about this is we have sextiles with Mercury in Cancer to the node of fate. So I really, really, really like that. And we open up this week with that. It means that in a lot of ways, you're very clear on your emotions. Even if things get confusing, if you step back and just hermit mode for a second, get in your hermit crab shell, and just say, hey, I might have to separate myself from the energy of everybody else. But as soon as you get into your own space, sit with that Cancerian energy and be like, okay, it's safe to feel, it's safe to be emotional, put on some music, whatever you have to do to like let out that energy. And really, you do know the answer. The thing is, sometimes when you know the answer, it's not always the easiest thing. And if there's anybody going through any sort of relationship stuff, just know that that is what the summer's lesson is all about. So it's, yes, you're in a cycle, but you're in a cycle of choosing, again, like I said, choosing your heart, choosing yourself. And with Neptune in Pisces going retrograde, sometimes when there is, and I know how easy it is to get disillusioned in certain types of relationships, but if somebody shows you who they are, which we had Mars squares earlier this year, like, that's not easy, because in the sign of Gemini, we had Mars squares we had Mars retrograde in Gemini and then Mars squares in Gemini. And I'm not putting down Gemini. What I'm saying is Gemini is so here, right here all the time. And we have just a couple minutes for Mercury to be in Gemini still, that weighing the options is almost like weighing like the hall of mirror options. It's like you see it from that angle, that angle, that angle, that angle, that angle. And what Cancer season is allowing that Gemini energy to do is wash out, sit, allow the pot to mix up a little bit more. I love how signs are like neighbors to each other. Like, I love that Leo is neighbors with Virgo. It's like, okay, you guys are neighbors in the zodiac. All right. I love how like different, like Scorpio and Sagittarius, you're like, like, so we're going from Gemini to Cancer. Not an easy transition between signs. Okay, so on the 28th, we have the Sun trine Saturn, the Sun in Cancer, trine Saturn in Pisces. Love it. We're here for it. We're here for that clarity. This is about your life purpose. Then we go on to the 29th, where Venus, that heart expression in Leo, is trine Chiron. Now, I'm looking at this as Venus conjunct Lilith conjunct Mars, trine Chiron in Aries. This gets into generational healing, generational wounds, and generational trauma. That is a big part of the summer as well. And with Chiron trines, also here for it. Love to see it, live for it. Chiron being the wounded healer aspect in us all, in the sign of Aries, is asking us to take leadership when it comes to things that have wounded us, so that we can help those who come behind us, the generations behind us, to go towards a better future. And I mean, this is across the board. This is also kind of a preview for the next decade ahead. Not that the trine is a preview, but just looking at Chiron and Aries, it's just a very interesting way of looking at how leadership is shifting, especially with the fact that Pluto is still retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. Let's see. Do I want to point out anybody else? Oh, on the 30th, we have Mercury trine Saturn. So also living for these trines this week. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Our mind, our communication is in harmony with our life purpose, even as Saturn is retrograde and Neptune retrograde, both in the sign of Pisces. The thing that I absolutely love about this week is the 1st of July. We have a conjunction between Mercury, who in 3 minutes is entering Cancer, and the sun in Cancer. Now, Mercury is clipping along this week. Mercury goes from 0 to 9. I mean, Mercury is going to be at 9 degrees of Cancer on the 1st. And I circled this as a big day because on that same day, Mercury is sextile, meaning in a friendship aspect, to Jupiter in Taurus. So this is about feeling luxurious. If the 1st is a day you need to circle for yourself or your family, to spend family time, do something really, really, really good for yourself on the 1st of July. This is a day of self-care. This is a day where you saw things super clearly for yourself. Now, here's the thing. I want to say this because I'm an Aries. And I understand what's going on with the fire stuff. We have all these planets in Leo. We have all these squares. But one of the things, the gift of this week is this conjunction between the sun and Mercury in Cancer. Now, this means to follow the moon really, really, really deeply this week, to really sit with the lunar energies and just know that the moon being in a waxing phase, bringing us towards illumination towards next week, is also kind of gearing us up, which I'm like so excited, gearing us up towards a big self-realization about our purpose, and this is career related in many ways because Capricorn full moon next week is about career, but this is also about taking that power back, which I love. I love it, love it, love it. But the thing is, when you set a boundary, which is what Cancer is all about, the sign of Cancer is about those claws coming out. So if you set a boundary with somebody, please do not be mean to yourself. Because yes, when we set boundaries, there is sort of, there's guilt, there's the stuff that happens. Please trust, if you need to set a boundary this week, Mercury and the sun got your back. They're saying, you saw it, you called it out, you felt it. You felt that intuition deep down from that Cancerian lunar moon, deep mother energy. I have my old school cards out. Goddess energy. I almost feel she's not on the table, but that high priestess energy, that deep high priestess energy is out this week, which means when we're working with high priestess energy, it has to do with appreciating that when things are being created, there is a chaotic moment. When fluids are moving around in the pot, boiling, there is a chaotic moment, but at some point, everything comes together. The spices, we simmer. We're allowing things to simmer, allowing the taste to come through. And the thing that I find so divinely beautiful is we go through the sacred feminine this week, and then who comes in supporting through the most beautiful full moon aspect. Capricorn energy next week. It's almost like saying the sacred masculine and feminine they're like in this cosmic flow, in this cosmic dance. It's poetry. That's why I love astrology so much. Astrology is pure musical poetry when you break it down. Like I'm not the greatest astrologer. I've been studying this for years, but I look at the patterns. And I think that 2023 is such a poignant year for patterns and setting us up for success. The shit that goes on in society when it comes to politics and authoritarian power and things like that, that's meant to distract us from the real truth of this cosmic beautiful dance. And I think that's the truth of what this week is. So we enter our week with a Libra moon, but we're going to go from the phase of the first quarter moon, and the moon will be waxing from the sign of Scorpio, Sagittarius, and then earlier degrees of Capricorn. So working with that energy and knowing what that energy brings us, that energy takes us from air, then to water, then to fire, and then to earth. So also appreciating the elements within us all. And then we end this week on the 2nd, Venus square Uranus, book ending this Sunday, Monday. So yesterday, today, if you felt a little chaotic or off kilter, that's going to come back around and then bring us into that full moon energy. So it is like a playing deck of cards. I really do recommend, if you don't have your own tarot cards and you're not ready to take the plunge, if you have a deck of playing cards, I'm going to do it now. Take out the blue ones in honor of the High Priestess. And anybody's welcome to ask me a question. These are not blessed. I'm going to take out the Joker. This is a fresh deck, and I'm just going to bless it as I go. This will be blessed on camera. So I'm just going to say, for the highest good, just may these cards provide peace to all. And I'm just going to shuffle. I have my little unicorn cards. And if anybody has questions, you're welcome to ask. I just want to do some playing cards because I had been wanting to do playing cards for Jupiter entering the sign of Taurus, to teach people how to do that, and that, you know, with sort of the symbolism that life is a gamble. But they wanted to come out today. And so I'm just gonna honor them today. Not the best shuffler, but we'll do it. See? Okay. This is why I shuffle like. Okay. I'm gonna pull out 3 cards, and I'm just gonna do it as like a teaching thing. I'm not really looking for answers. And honestly, what I'm really more looking for is the elements. So I'll teach that way. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So our first card is the 6 of diamonds. So diamonds are earth. So in tarot cards, diamonds are pentacles. The 6 of diamonds is about karma. And any of the 6 suite is about karma, karmic energy. So 6 of diamonds, 6 of pentacles, the lesson is about 1, giving and receiving. So this is a card of gratitude. So it doesn't have to be something tangible, but with Mercury entering the sign of Cancer, I do feel like this is do something tangible. Give love and you shall receive it is the message. And this is the card of helping and receiving help. So this could say also through the tangible earthly realms, it's like saying, just dropping a line to a friend and being like, hey, I just want to let you know, maybe it's somebody you haven't seen in a long time. You can just be like, hey, just to let you know, you rock, you're awesome, liking somebody's stuff, supporting another artist, sharing somebody's work. That is very 6 of Pentacles as well. So it doesn't have to be like A lot of times it's like donating to a charity, but this can also just be like supporting somebody's tangible work. So it's things like that. If you have a musician you love, share their music, things like that. So then we have spades, 10 of spades, and spades are air. So spades, 10 of swords. Now this card is, I feel like this is a card for 2023. It comes out in every reading that I've done pretty much. So this is about getting to the end of a hard road, but to get into the end of that hard road or get to the end of that hard road, it means you have a heavy, heavy, heavy burden on your back. And a lot of times it can feel like you have a lot of swords in your back. Some, like, I do feel like these retrogrades are really pointing out those swords, and these could be emotional swords or more. When I say emotional, it could be more when life was cold to you and how you picked up those swords, how you picked up that trauma, how you picked up that pain along the way. Now, Jack of Spades is out next. So Jack of Swords, Page of Swords, or Knight of Swords is how I would read this. And that does mean news received. So this could be kind of saying this really does confirm your hunch. You had a hunch about this. The Jacks are very interesting because they are a little bit slick. So this is about saying that, you know, you see the hand for what it is. And with Mercury entering the sign of Cancer, this is actually relying on your intuition. With the Jack of Swords, this is saying, you know, this was logic and intellect, but I'm seeing this as Mercury. And Mercury has entered the sign of Cancer. Let's just see. This one popped out. Let me get one more. So this is to clarify this guy here, this Jack of Spades. And I have the 9 of Clubs, which is 9 of Wands, or fire energy, which is very similar to the 10 of Swords or 10 of Spades. So it's almost saying, yep, you did. You went through hell, but you made it through hell. You made it through hell. 9 of Clubs. What other cards are down here? That's the Joker card. 6 of Swords. Interesting. So this is moving on from the past. And I do think these squares to Uranus with Venus and Mars and Lilith are meant to be like, okay, you deserve better in XYZ. There's a lot of picking and choosing yourself over the old ways and recognizing the patterns in your life. So I wrote some notes that I actually wrote before. So I wrote them this morning. And unless anybody has any questions, I'm going to share my notes, and I might pull a card from my other decks as well. But I'm going to just share my notes that I wrote this morning for this live stream. So I wrote about battles, and this is a little different from Aries season, the battles between Venus, Mars, and Lilith. So the battles that I see when I was kind of in channeling mode was, what are the family lessons? Because there's so many planets in the sign of Cancer now, and also retrogrades with our outer planets, with Pluto and with Neptune and Saturn, who are in Pisces, there's a lineage lesson here. What is the karmic lineage? Which, by the way, all those swords came out. What's the karmic lineage that you're ready to cut away? This is going to be very helpful this week to get very clear as the moon waxes towards the full moon next week. So this week, it's about getting clear about that new moon intention that you verbally set on the 18th of June, or around the 18th of June, or a realization that you made around the 18th of June as we go into this week with the quarter moon, and as we're working and sifting through this week with the quarter moon. What are these generational lessons that you want to say, you know what, my life path is actually taking me over there. I'm going yonder. You guys stay here or you're coming with me. It really depends on where you want to be your own authority, especially with Pluto saying, hey, you already saw this. This is last call here. You already saw me in the sign of Capricorn. You don't have to revisit this. Since 2008, I've been here. You've been through this lesson. Make this choice for yourself. And that is really what these planets are trying to say. This is such a powerful week if we give it a shot, meaning I feel like the transits of this week could get overshadowed by the other transits that are going on in 2023, but do not get it twisted. This is a very potent, magical week. This is the mixing bowl. This is the magician. This is the high priestess. This is the lunar energy, really, really helping us in this build-up mode. And I also said with with Mercury conjunct the sun on the 1st, write a letter to yourself or the people in your life that you need to write a letter to. They never have to see that letter. Release that with the full moon. You can cut it up, put it in the trash, and never see it again. I know there's a lot of online publications that say to burn letters. I'm not really into burning things unless you have a really safe fire pit and you are not in a fire zone, because I've lived in the desert enough to know. But I'm all for writing a letter, whether it's your old self or somebody who really pissed you off, and really, really write that letter and dig in. We are in claw crab Cancer season. Dig in, be like, you were the biggest motherfucker to me. Fuck you. Go fuck your fucking self. La, 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 la. Whatever you have to say, then cut it up. Throw it the fuck away. Throw it the fuck away. Release that with that full moon, especially if it was somebody who fucked up your life path. When you were like, hey, I want to do this. I want to go to, I don't know, ukulele school. And they're like, and then somebody in your life is like, you can't go to no ukulele school. What's up? What's up, everybody? And you feel like your life path is to play the ukulele in a band and travel the world, and you want to paint your ukulele pink and then cover that ukulele in glitter. And then you also want to take your pubic hair and put it like in bangs and be like the ukulele pubic hair player. If that was your life purpose, fucking write a letter to somebody that told you couldn't. I'm not talking about Neptune delusion here, but if you really were like, you know what, when I grew out my pubic hair and put glitter on my ukulele, I never felt so empowered in my life. And you know what? Good on you. Write a letter to the motherfucker that told you you couldn't do that shit. What's up? Hi, everybody. Hi, Vanessa. But to be like on the less like, thank you. Nobody broke my ukulele dreams, but I definitely like sometimes you just go to like those little parks and you see people playing the ukulele and you're like, that person's got rhythm, you know? I wish that they, anyway, I digress. Look, if somebody fucked up with your shit, write them a letter just to let them know they fucked up with your shit, okay? Then cut that shit up. If you're in a place that's 120 degrees this week, I don't advise you light it on fire though. All right. One of the predictions I do want to make, we have a tornado this year somewhere in the United States that makes some sort of record that hasn't been made since 2011. That's a prediction I'm making about tornadoes in the United States. Don't quote me on it. It's just based on the astrology and my hunch. I'm not asking for a tornado to break a record, but I'm looking at Uranus. I'm looking at all the stuff, and I'm looking at the weather, and it's going to be like air and fire. So I'm just like, interesting. Okay. Is there anything else that I wrote? I just wrote this, a supercell and a pressure cooker. And if that's about the weather, then it's about a tornado outright. If it is not about the weather, then it's about writing a letter to yourself about what was that pressure cooker in your life, and how do you want to release that? So, let's see. I'm going to do just a few cards to kind of conclude. Take a little sippy water. I hope everybody on the live, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope the week treats you beautifully as I drop my unicorns. And look, if you're listening and you're like, I'm a ukulele player and you are disrespectful. Look, I made a joke. I'm not backing down from it. And you can always, I got the 6 of Pentacles or 6 of Diamonds. Send me your ukulele music and I'll share it. And that'll be my 6 of Diamonds work. Okay, I'm going to do 3 cards. Well, ain't that cool? And the bottom card. So he's out again. So this is that Jack of Swords, or Jack, what is it, Spades. Here as the Knight of Swords. Then we have the 7 of Cups. This feels like Neptune. That feeling of, I don't know where to put my energy. I just have a lot of energy and a lot of feelings. And the 5 of Cups, letting go of the past. So there's a lot of moving forward from the past here. It can feel very icky and confusing at times, but this is kind of the swift movement through that energy. So my recommendation is pen to paper as much as you can. Pen to paper, talk it out loud. If you're in therapy, talk it out with a therapist. This can mean that somebody is coming back to spill some cups with you, meaning we are entering a retrograde with a love planet. I have the world out again. The North and South node are still in the signs of Taurus and Scorpio. Let me think about that for a second. So we're going to have some trines and sextiles throughout the week as the Sun and Mercury move through Cancer, aspecting the North and South node. So it's almost like you have to go through the trenches of your mind. And I do think that that 9 of Wands that came out, that 9 of Clubs in the playing cards deck, is saying, like, yes, you did go through hell. We've got a 2-week period right now that's setting us up into like ending a cycle that started in 2021 and starting a new cycle. And that'll be mid-July. I'm going to pull one more card. I'm going to go back into the ocean of the energy. There he is, Knight of Cups. So I'm going to view this as logic and reason meets creativity. So you see how that little Knight of Swords is like, boom, I gotta move so fast through the clouds. And this guy's like, let's slow down and love each other. Oh my God. He's like, we have to be loved. So water, air, squares. Interesting enough, water and air were the predominant cards. I only had 1 fire card come out. Oh, absolutely. Is it just a general question or a specific question? I can also pick a Kali card as well. Money for Vanessa. So these cards, I just kind of go with the feeling, and they're very fire energy. So these are our first card for Vanessa for money. Why am I broke right now? And when am I going to stop being so? I'll read your Kali message and then I'll see where we can go from there. This is curricula. Your message is so funny. This is, and the thing is, it should be like it's like to the point. Okay. Kurukula, kula. To receive your divine inheritance. Oh. To receive your divine inheritance of blessings and support for sacred fulfillment, certain karmic conditions that resonate at a lower frequency need to be cleared. Kurukula, guys, I'm never going to pronounce things the way they're meant to. It's all from my heart. You can correct me in the comments. Kurukula signifies a time of rapid movement on your path and freedom to attract what you want and need. Let go of which does not belong in your world. Release and you shall receive. I shouldn't have put these away. The next card, hold on, we're going to get into Saturn stuff. Bhadra Kali, apologies if my pronunciation's off. There is not always a need to try to grapple and conquer. Sometimes the need is simply to let go. Interesting that the law of attraction is in this card here. And then this is about letting go. I'm sorry, I'm excited. Okay. Just because another has created a certain reality for themselves and is attempting to draw you in, it does not mean that you must participate. So I have a question with this. You have a divinely granted gift of choosing where to invest your energy. Be kind to yourself. These cards are basically saying the law of attraction, but also with the karmic card, so when it comes to any outer planet in retrograde, there is some karma to be repaid in certain ways, especially because Saturn is in retrograde in the sign of Pisces. But there's so many, this gets me fired up right now because across the board for everybody, this is not about being broke, because that's a word, broke. So what does the word broke mean? I mean, I'm coming at this from a similar standpoint. Any creative right now is going through a creative upgrade. And these retrogrades are trying so hard to get us to get out of our own way. And with these retrogrades, especially with Saturn and Pisces in retrograde, and now Neptune entering a retrograde cycle, we are being asked to choose our creative path, put that high priestess path first, allow that divine feminine to guide us. So for a lot of people, I am a Saturn conjunct my moon, Capricorn ascendant with Mars conjunct my ascendant with Neptune conjunct my ascendant, and I'm an Aries sun. What does that mean? I am Saturn ruled. That's what it translates to. I know, and I'm a 10th house girl. What I can tell you from this particular anytime Saturn's in retrograde, look at Saturn in your chart. This is what I mean by generational karma, generational trauma. Generational trauma is generational karma, because being broke is a term of the fucking patriarchy. That's a term to prevent us from going into our creative path and scare us. And I know this deep down. I know this too. I'm yelling at myself right now. But saying I am blank is literally like putting that on you. There is nothing fucking broke about any of us. There's nothing broke about us. What the reality is that Saturn in retrograde in the sign of Pisces is actually saying, who made you feel fucking broke? I know it's about finances, but it's really about taking that power back. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the upcoming decades. Let me just go back into Kali wants really to talk right now, so let's let the goddess talk. Dang, she's fierce. Dumarvati. Kern says, I always keep a broke mindset, so you stay on the grind. The government made me feel broke. Let's see what this card says, Kern. Certain endings are unavoidable. They are necessary precursors to radical reinvention. Any disappointment, defeat, or loss, and the negative repercussions of such experiences will not limit your future happiness, but are opening up yet unrecognized pathways for fulfillment. Your trust must be unconditional at this time, and later you shall see that everything has worked out for the absolute best. Okay, all right, how we doing? Yeah, super fierce. Okay. Here's the thing that's tough because I had to learn this the hard way, but that whole like on the grind thing, I heard I don't like sports ball that much. I'm not a huge sports ball fan. Um but I heard the sports ball player and they were talking about one of the sports that you play with your feet and a ball. And they were saying that they changed being on their grind to being on their grit, Grit, not to be confused with the old way that you say AIDS. But I realized that that is something I have to adopt because I feel like the mentality of being on your grind all the time is really one setting themselves up to constantly almost like self sabotage, where it's like it's almost like you're constantly moving the bar, but not to a healthy place. So chasing the coin, chasing money. I mean, I'm wondering for like a generational thing. Like I wonder if this is a generational healing regarding chasing that bag, just chasing the coin. Because actually I'm changing. So I'm going to ask a very specific question about finances for everybody because this upcoming full moon next week is about money. And this is the preparation cycle for the full moon next week. And I just want to ask, when it comes to finances for everybody, is there any recommendation from the higher realms, from the ancestral realms? And I'm going to say a prayer to Santa Maria. Oh, she's like, girl, get your mind right. Thank you. She's talking to me right now. Hold on, guys. I'll show you the cards in a second. I'm just going to ask grandmothers. 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 Thank you. Okay. I just got yelled at. Okay, guys, I got yelled at. This is what my grandma said to me. She's like, I'm always joking. You'll never find happiness chasing money. To be on the grind doesn't mean to chase the bag. You could be chasing a better life and a better future. I agree. This is about tricking yourself and a downfall through tricking yourself. Trickster vibes. Now, what came out before that is Seven of Wands and the 10 of Pentacles. So this is the grind. Seven of Wands is about the grind. And 10 of Pentacles is about establishing that family Hold up, let me see. When you can't even eat, money will help a lot, and that's where I am right now. I am working 40 hours a week and struggle just to eat. Some money will make me happy right now. Okay. Hold up. That's a good specific question. I got you. Let me just go very specifically for Vanessa right now. Okay, I'm gonna DM you. But we have 10 of Wands. And then we have Page of Cups. And then we have the Knight of Pentacles. If you have PayPal or Venmo or Cash App, if you can put it in my comments, just put it all in my comments. And I'm gonna put it in my show notes as well. But I'm also gonna send a DM. So the 10 of Wands, for anybody going through any sort of food survival stuff right now, 10 of Wands is also being like, what resources do you have? Is there a place that you can go and get food from locally? And what I'll do, I'm gonna look up some national stuff and I'll put it in my show notes on both sides. I've been here and I've done that. I do know where you're at, and I have been in that situation where you're at, and I will tell you, in the city that you're in the particular city you're in, the Dollar General has like they have a very, very good section for food. From what I remember, I lived in that city for 1 month, and for a little less than a month. And I was living there with another comedian, and her and I were mainly in the car. And this goes for anybody, and I know that, those who know, or those, but the Dollar General does get produce kind of like delivered to them, and it depends on what area, but I will say that certain sections of the United States, you can like walk away with a nice bag of groceries for very inexpensive. I do know a lot of churches have food areas. And I'll put in the comments after everything's loaded, certain things that I can find. But please put your PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App in my comments. Necessary evil, we have to pay bills and put food in the fridge. We do. So yes, that is kind of part of what this week is about. And by the way, like, I'm a comedian first. I'm an astrologer as well. And I never want to view myself as a professional anything. I do this for the love of my heart. But I've definitely, as a comic, I've been in all of these situations. I'm very lucky right now at this time in my life, where I do have food in my belly, but there have been times in my life when I don't. So I want to say, I'm going to try and help as much as possible, or at least spread the word as much as possible. And the Ace of Cups is out. So just let me know, you guys, how to build a better community, because that's kind of the goal of why I do this. And if anybody has any better suggestions on what we can do as a community, because I do astrology and everything, but I want to be a better person of service as well. And if you are going through something really hard, I will say, with the cards and everything, they are indicating that the Wheel of Fortune is changing. So it is kind of like the lights at the end of the tunnel, but in the immediate, please put your PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo in the comments. And it's interesting because for those of us comics, like if there's comics on my live stream, especially when you go through these times where it's like, oh my God, when's my next meal? It's very interesting because it's always like that faith coming through. I have a hard time eating. I'd rather cook my own food, and that's why it's hard to get. I'm kind of picky. Oh, well, one thing I did like, so I don't want to blow up where you're at, but it might help. But when I was in Vegas, one of the things that I liked at their dollar store was they had a variety of food. So, like, I'm a ramen person, so I'm okay, like, with eating ramen, but I'm obviously not the pinnacle of health. And I'd say one of my favorite things that really helped was, well, at the time, dollar store, even in Jersey, I used to live for a very brief time. I was in Union City, and there is this dollar store. And the dollar store, you could get 12 eggs for $1.25, and you could get packs of ramen. So at the time, you could get a 6-pack for $1. And then that particular one, and then the one that was also in Vegas, you could get produce. Now, I would get frozen vegetables, and I would get the mixed vegetables that have like peas and carrots and corn, although corn's not like good for you. And I would just keep them frozen, and then I would get the protein and vegetables, and then obviously the ramen like fills your belly. But I also think at the dollar store has rice as well. So, you know, it might just be, a Saturn retrograde thing right now where Saturn's testing you and saying, you know, this is one of those times. And get sick, like really sick. I'd rather fast than eat something that will make me sick. I hear you. Well, I would say that the only solution I can really think of, like from a practical standpoint, is like like at least the ones in Vegas, because me and my friend went there. We were very surprised at the variety that they had. I don't remember which street we were on in Vegas, but I do remember like we were extremely surprised. It was a very diverse like selection of food. And when I go on the road, which I haven't done in a while, like I'm like a peanut butter and bread type person. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but in the interim, I wonder if there's like a yoga studio, because I know in like LA they had like a karma kitchen where if you go and volunteer there, you can get like a healthy vegetarian meal. So I wonder if there's like a yoga studio there that you can volunteer at, and get more like of an organic meal. They pay you almost nothing. I know. That's the thing that sucks. When I went to Vegas, I got a job like immediately, but the pay that I got, I don't know how people can afford rent off of that. Even like rent at this time is pretty much on par all across the country. So it's just like really interesting to see the pay scale at different places. Like I think I was in Plano, and they offered me $12 an hour. And so I understand this grind. I understand this fear. I understand what everybody's going through, and this part that this camera is going out to YouTube, which this is the real of a lot of people's lives. I know everybody's going through the real. And if anybody has any tips, you're welcome to comment below. and I know we're all going through this. The two things that I want to say with astrology is this is where that age of Aquarius movement is taking us towards a more collective community. I wish I had the answers to everything. I do. I'm just this weird human on this planet. But I will say, like, volunteering at a yoga studio that has a kitchen has helped a lot. I'm trying to think of anything I can think of right now about Vegas, because I have been through, I mean, girl, I've been on the road so long. Like my body's still recovering in a lot of ways, and I want to think of like the biggest solution. Peanut butter and bread was always my solution. Like, at least that fills the belly up. Protein shakes and things like that. And honestly, if you're feeling, just let me know, like, send me a DM and we'll talk. But let me just, if anybody has any more questions, let me know. And I'm going to see. So the bottom card is the Six of Wands, which is victory after battle. So that's very good. I think let this full moon pass. This is a lunar test. This is the moon's test. And I think we're all getting it on all different fronts. So, you know, for a lot of comedians, our battle is keeping a roof over our head and eating, you know, healthy meals. That's a comedy battle. We're in the battle in the trenches in a lot of these ways. But the Ace of Pentacles is saying there's new life, there's a new garden being grown here. And this is a financial card. So I do think this is part of that full moon energy. And the Nine of Wands is back out, which was out in this deck, which is about, yes, you went through hell. But after that battle of hell is the Six of Wands. So if anybody has any questions, and then the Devil's on the bottom, I do think this is part of that Saturn stuff. Please just comment below if you want to share with the community. The live streams on Facebook. This is going out on YouTube, Substack. I'm going to start to be on Rumble. So if anybody wants to join me on Rumble, and then I'll decide what I'm doing with Rumble. I'm kind of testing the waters there. I've just seen some changes in YouTube, and I just started doing things on YouTube, and I would hate to continue to see the things that I've seen on YouTube so far with fully committing to YouTube. So I'm gonna kind of balance my body of work between YouTube and Rumble. And then you can find me everywhere. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, which I'm here. If you would like to hop over to Facebook Live, I have some of my friends in the comments. You are welcome to ask me tarot questions, astrology questions. I can pull cards over here, and I will announce what times I'm going live. I'm actually might try another live this week as well. We'll see what happens. I'll announce before. And then Miss Vanessa, if you can put your info in the comments, I'll share the link everywhere. So thank you guys for joining me, and I hope you have a great week of astrology and lessons ahead.